All right, good afternoon. Welcome to Seattle's Eastside Real Estate Podcast, the podcast dedicated to living and working, playing, and everything on the East Side. It's Wednesday, June 9th, and we're live on Facebook. Please feel free to share, like, or comment. We'd be happy to see your comments and answer any questions that you might have. If you are listening to a recorded version, don't call us. We may not answer the phone. Don't comment because we won't. Well, you can comment. That's okay if you're watching on previous. We'd love to hear your thoughts on our video podcast. You can also find us anywhere podcasts are podcasted, both on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any other podcast system that you use. Today, we're going to be welcoming in Andi and Vinny of Bequest Coffee, a coffee shop up in Mill Creek. But first, as always, let's get to some real talk. And we have some really exciting news this week. We just received a program from a company called Keller Offers. It's one of our partners that we work with a ready-to-sell program. Now, those of you that follow the Eastside Real Estate team know that listings for us is one of our favorite things to do. And it's one of the most challenging enterprises when you haven't sold a home in a while. And we come alongside and we help coordinate that process. Well, we're happy to announce a program called Ready to Sell. And the Ready to Sell program is really great. Let me just bring up a little bit of information about it. Well, what it is it's up to $76,000 of money for you to get your home ready to sell. It's pretty simple, $76,000. Now it's 12 months, same as cash, interest-free for 12 months. If you don't pay it off in 12 months, then you're going to start racking up interest. Most of our sellers we see taking advantage of this are in a situation where they may have a few items of deferred maintenance or perhaps some cosmetic things that we can see would help make their home more marketable. Let me give you an example. One of our clients recently had a home that had some siding that was in disrepair. They wanted to get the home on the market, but we knew that if they left it that way, it would cause a problem. So as we went out to the house, we went out and evaluated, and we found a few other items that we suggested to them that would help make their home more sellable. One of those items was to paint the exterior. So after we fixed the siding, painting the exterior. We also thought it would be a good idea to replace their granite tile countertop with some new, clean, fresh quartz countertops. Some other things we did is when we pre-inspected the property, we found out that there were some GFCI, some minor electrical issues. We also found out that there were some things with the plumbing. So we had a few toilets that maybe weren't seated correctly. So what we do with the Ready to Sell program, now those are some pretty minor. The big expense, though, was the siding. So the siding was going to be about $15,000. And while they had equity in the home, they didn't want to tap into the equity. They also had savings that they could have accessed, but then they wouldn't have had money set aside for their future down payment. So this Ready to Sell program really is the kind of program that put them in a great situation because they didn't have to tap the equity, they had access. Now, here's some of the requirements with the Ready to Sell program. First, you have to work with a Keller Offers certified Ready to Sell agent, which we are. The agent comes through and submits a list of all the items that need to be repaired. And then we also put down how much we believe the home should be listed after that repair process. Once the property goes through the evaluation and the seller goes through an approval process, the vendors are engaged. And we actually have a dedicated general contractor that will be managing the project. Once those bids are approved by the seller, then the bank who backs the process will go ahead and begin the process of liquidating some of those funds so that the contractor can get started. Now, about halfway through this process, we send out our quality assurance folks, and actually we do a survey to see that things are getting done the way that they should be getting done, and that there's any adjustments that may need to be made. Now, it's pretty common that as you work through some problems, other problems may arise, more funds may be necessary or less. So we always want to kind of evaluate that process about halfway through. Once the work's completed, we mark that as completed. We put the home on the market, and when the home is sold, you then pay for those services once it's complete. We're really excited about this program, and what we see is this is going to provide sellers with a little bit less pressure financially, because of course, when you do go to market, if you're liquidating a lot of your savings to get the home on the market, there's just kind of this additional stress to the whole process. So that is our Keller Williams Ready to Sell program. We're really super excited. And if you want to learn more about how this program could work for you, reach out to the Eastside Real Estate team. So even before this program comes along, we already knew what it took to get homes ready. So if you want that plus the cash to do the things that you know need to be done to help you get top dollar in any market, please reach out to us. So that's our Real Talk segment for this week. Now, after this short commercial break, we're going to talk to Andi and Vinny from Bequest Coffee in Mill Creek. But first, our commercial. So I don't know if you're like me, but kind of trying to stay healthy and eating healthy is a constant chore. There's a lot of temptations of something quick and easy. But one of the things that I found is really good is to kind of prepare in advance, right? So if that sounds like you and you're frustrated, I want you to check our podcast from last week where or actually 2 weeks ago, where we had Laura Taylor with Honest to Goodness Personal Chef Services. Now, they have helped hundreds of families just like you, just like me, save time in meal planning, grocery planning, and cooking everyday dinners. Laura's team, they excel in helping you to enjoy healthy dinners at home or while you're on the go. Especially if you have certain dietary needs. Laura Taylor with Honest to Goodness is personal chef services. They do catering, home parties, and much, much more. So you can go back and hear our interview we had with her a couple of weeks ago to hear about Laura Taylor and Honest to Goodness, or you can just go to honesttogoodness.com or give her a call at 206-930-8686. That's 206-930-8686. That's honesttogoodness.com. We hope you'll check them out. Now, back to our show. So this week, we are welcoming Andi and Vinny from Bequest Coffee in Mill Creek to talk about their new business venture and how COVID has impacted their first year in business. Now, I am a super big fan of small business. I love to see people when they're passionate about providing something, okay? And in this case, it's a place to gather. It's a place to meet old friends. It's a place to do business. And I can only imagine the impact that COVID had on it last year. So before we get into talking about your coffee shop, why don't you guys tell me a little bit about yourself? So welcome to the show, Vinny and Andi.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi.
So Vinny, I'm guessing, is on the left and Andi is on the right, because those names could probably go either way, right?
Yeah, I guess they're all nicknames too. Like our background goes to, like, we're from Brazil originally, and I guess our names were too complicated to go by the full name. So we just, both of us adopted like nicknames to make it easy, and friendly with everybody. So.
Excellent. So since this is a show based around real estate, kind of tell me about the type of home you grew up in. Was it in Brazil, somewhere in Brazil?
It was in Brazil. Yeah.
Okay, tell me about where you grew up.
So we are from the same city, actually, in Brazil. So that was good. And
I was in the same neighborhood.
I was in the same neighborhood, but like housing there, it's a lot different, like from pretty much all the aspects of. Like when we first got here, we were surprised on first how fast they were building houses, and also the way, because here you see way more like wood, and Brazil is all bricks.
Gotcha.
But we adapted very well. Like we feel like even though here is kind of a cold, we never we felt more cold in Brazil than here, because brick house, no furnace system, it would be like super chill inside.
Yeah, we are from the south of Brazil. It's cold in winter time. Some people think that Brazil is all hot, but it's like here, every place you go is different.
Gotcha. So you're saying that construction in Brazil was slower than construction here?
Just because I think the process of building is different, like brick, the foundation, all this would take way more time when you're using like, brick and cement than when you do like the way you do.
And then, so what's the primary heat source then?
Blanket and a nice coat.
Gotcha. So no central
Extra
heating.
layers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
thank you guys for sharing about that. I just think it's great to kind of learn a little bit about where people grew up, because home, home is where your heart is, right? So even though you're not in Brazil anymore, I know that we kind of go back into, the house we grew up in, and what it was like in our summers there. So tell me about Bequest Coffee.
so Bequest was a dream of ours, like for a long time. We have extensive background in the coffee business, and we always wanted to open our own shop and a place to call ours and do the things that we always dreamed to do. And last year, this dream finally came to be true. Of course, we're not counting with the COVID, but we were very grateful that we could put everything from the paper into reality and make it happen. And we're very grateful for all that we have today.
So how do you go about the whole planning of opening a coffee shop? You say you have that in your background, but I mean, there must be a whole lot of things you learned in that process. Yeah.
Yeah. Vinny has more than 5 years working as a manager in a coffee shop. And then I got probably like 2 years, but we were always talking about that and we want to have our own. And then happened actually really quick.
Yeah,
We were looking for a place and then we found this location and we love it. And
yeah, and I mean, it was the one thing that we always tell people when they ask us about this too. We say like it was meant to be, because there was a lot of things that came in a way of we finally opened the shop, like problems that would come up, and at some point we even like, okay, it's not going to be now. But then things work out in a way that it was meant to be. So like, and that's what we kept telling ourselves even when COVID hit really hard. It's like, you know what, it was meant to be this place to be our shop, our first location. So everything is going to work out fine. Like it's hard, it's challenging, but we're going to make it. So but it was a lot of learning. Even though like the 5 years, like she said, on the background, and her 2 years too, we the first we thought we knew a lot, but then being the business owners for the first time, you definitely realize, whoa, there's a bunch of things too that we did not know.
Unexpected. So tell me about the coffee or products that you serve.
so you want to talk about like how you choose the coffee blend?
Yeah, so
sales.
we always were passionate about coffee and good food. Coffee, we're Brazilians, coffee's in our blood, I guess. And so one thing that we would face a lot here, it was every time they would go out to visit a new place and find a new spot, it would be very hard for us to find a place where we could that would be combined of a really good food and a really good coffee. It would be either or, right? So when we always would talk and dream about our coffee shop, we would say like, whenever we open our shop, we gotta find a way to combine both, where a person can go and if they wanna, if they're hungry, they can find both, like a good coffee and food, or if either or. But like, so about the coffee, we partner up with a Middle Fork Roasters there in South Seattle, and I have known their work for a long time. They have been probably like 13 to 14 years already in their location roasting. They were primarily focused only on commercial. So they would work like with the Google campus, Facebook, and big grocery stores. But because we know them, they accept to partner up with us as well. And they allow us to kind of create our own blend. And so they do the roasting, but is like a house blend. It's Bequest Coffee that you're going to find in your cup. So it's a very well balanced, very rich, but not so acidic, and that go well any time of the day you're drinking. So
Excellent. So besides coffee, what do you serve?
Yeah, then we have the homemade pastries. In the beginning, we start with a few, and then we saw how people really want that, and there's no other places in the area that serves like homemade croissants and turnovers and all the stuff. So we ended up adding like new recipes. So we have like I don't know, maybe like 10 or 12 different kinds of croissants and turnovers that we make in house. And then we have the paninis that we have the whole day. Breakfast sandwiches and omelets in the morning that you can make your own, choose what you like. We make fresh.
Wow, so
And
it's all made there. It's not pre-made.
yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
we make everything in house, so it's always fresh. We bake many times a day the croissants. So every time you go there, at least one is like still hot out of the oven. And after COVID, like the second shutdown, was the second or first one, I'm not sure. We also added the happy hour. So we have in the afternoon like beer and wine for who doesn't want to drink coffee. And we add a small menu with appetizers, everything homemade.
How big of a space is it that you guys have there?
So the whole space is about like 1,800 square foot. But we have seating for like on full capacity could sit probably like 50 to 60.
Okay. Hopefully we can get some photos from you guys, and we can actually put those into the video. So overlay. So as we're talking about it, these the photos can kind of come up. That'd be kind of cool. So tell me about what it was like to open this business and what happened. How did you support the business for the year while you were open and then closed and then open and then closed?
I think what made the difference is we were there like every day in the beginning, working like 12 hours a day, every day, maybe no day off. I don't remember.
No,
it was hard but fun at the same time because we really love to be there. But we never closed since we opened. Since we had like 2 or 3 shutdowns, I think 2. But we were open for takeout during the whole time.
Yeah, because when we opened March 14th of 2020.
Oh, jeez.
And on March 16th, we got the news that the governor was like putting the lockdown in place, and I mean, we just opened, we can't afford close. So we were just like,
scary.
Yeah, let's just, doing the takeout, like Andi said, like, let's keep our doors open. We kind of closed the dining area, so only the front cashier was available with the pastries, so people were only allowed in the front part of the shop. And it was scary because we were all on the Mill Creek Town Center, so there is a lot of business around us. And all of them were closed, so we were one open there. And then we were like, we are like outlaws or something. Like police are gonna come in here and shut us down. Like, what's gonna happen? And like Andi would joke around, like the good thing is like every time a car would stop by, we knew it was for us because we were the only business open. Like, so customer. But that helped a lot because during this time we kind of built a reputation, and we were very grateful for all the customers too, because they would help us a lot with the reviews. With the word of mouth was a big thing for us in the beginning. Like, we would have more people coming up the next day say, "Oh, my neighbor told me about you guys," or my coworker on a Zoom meeting, and that's how we start growing our name and our business, and more people start coming up, and it became a big community place because we have people that hang out there that are neighbors, that are family, and so I think that was the big point too, about like the community really helped us during this time. So
awesome. That's great. So what advice do you have for any first-time business owners? Would it be don't open during a pandemic or open during a pandemic?
I think even if you have the pandemic or not, the main thing is you really need to understand the business you have and be able to work there if you don't have it, like nobody else to do it for you. So if you are in a coffee shop business, make sure you really know about coffee and how to make it, because then if something happened, even if you don't plan to be there every day like we planned, you can still, survive until you find someone that you can trust and be there for you. So I think it doesn't matter what you open, you need to know to do all the things, like how to do other things.
Yeah, and being passionate about what you do too. That makes a huge difference. People can notice that from the moment that they step into your place, rather than a big branch of some sort that, there's a random, employee there. when you see the owners there and you see the passion, they really see that what you're doing is important, like you're not just serving a cup of coffee for a person, you are putting in all your passion and your love to there, and kind of creating some kind of relationship too, like sometimes like the one thing that always amazes us about the coffee business is like sometimes we are the first person that this customer is going to see on the day. So like your interaction with them might make that the person's day go better or worse, right? So like so it's a very important task, and it's nice to interact with people at this time, and coffee creates this kind of a relationship. So being passionate, this is it's the most important thing, I guess.
Yeah, and it shows as the owner of the business showing up in the day-to-day. It shows that it's not just a coffee shop, but that it has something to do with the passion that you bring for coffee and that gathering place. I mean, just hearing Andi talk about, the pastry side and then coffee, it's an intention, right? And customers pick up on that. It's what brings them back, because there's a lot of competition in the coffee market, right? You need a lot of competition. So do you guys have plans to expand?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. That's our whole goal. I mean, from the beginning, we always wanted to have more than one location. Of course, COVID happened, and we have to put like a few extra time on our planning, but we do have plans to expand. Yes.
Okay. And your location again is in Mill Creek, in the Mill Creek Center?
The town center.
Yeah.
Yes.
Town center. Okay, excellent. Do you have any promotions for anybody watching or listening to this podcast?
Yeah, of course. I mean, for everybody watching or listening to, if they want to stop the whole week at the coffee shop, tell us, like we said, we're always there, so they can tell us that they watch it or heard about this, and they can get out like a 10% off on any, like the whole bill.
On their whole bill. Okay, awesome. Well, listen, Vinny, Andi, I certainly appreciate it. Just for those of you listening, it's on Main Street, 1511 Main Street, Unit 105. I'm pretty sure there's a Bequest Coffee sign out front.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having us.
So anybody else finishing up, these are the great kinds of interviews we want to do. If you know somebody that has a small business or lives, works, and serves folks in anywhere on the East Side, we would love an opportunity to feature their business. So please reach out to us. Now, before we go, I want to just bring up some statistics, because I thought I kind of bring it back to kind of tell you guys what we're seeing right now on a nationwide kind of on nationwide statistics. We're actually literally seeing more real estate agents enter the market than listings. That's like a crazy statistic, meaning more people are getting into the business than listings are coming onto the market. So if that isn't an indication of, we need two things: less realtors and more listings. So if you know of listings, let me know. Just kind of a joke there. But also on the East Side, what we showed this last week, we showed 296 homes come on the market and 529 go pending. So it's not quite a 2-to-1 ratio, but just the market is so incredibly hot. So anybody watching, listening, we know we've been kind of saying the same thing. Who do you know that's thinking of selling? Now coupling our Ready to Sell program, and then go out and support Bequest Coffee. If you find yourself in Mill Creek and you have a hankering for pastry and coffee, swing in. If it's happy hour, I'm sure they'd be happy to have you. Thanks, guys, for coming on, and thank you all for watching the show.